Welcome back to episode 5 of the International Leadership Podcast. My name is Joe Beauchamp. I'm your host for today, joined with Kevin. Kevin will be here in a minute. And today we're going to be talking about the book, Developing the Leader Within You 2.0 from John C. Maxwell. It's one of my favorite books, one of the most common books that I do training and coaching on, working with leadership teams, helping leaders to become better leaders. It's a 10-chapter book, very simple. It's a 10-week workshop, could be a single day workshop. And it's the foundation for coaching and training for leaders really of any level. It could be a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation down to a single person CEO of a solopreneur, single person company. Anybody that needs to be influential in their life or understand how to operate better in their life and their businesses. It's a great foundational book. And that's what we're going to jump into today. So Kevin, thank you for joining me and
my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Podcast. Yes, exciting. Thank you.
So most of you are watching us right now on the American Business Podcast, and
yes,
Kevin is the host of that. And tell us a little bit more about what you do, Kevin.
Of course, yes, absolutely, yes. Thank you very much. Well, we are happy to have the International Leadership Podcast on the American Business Podcast Network. So this is a great partnership, and I'm glad that you have me in this episode 5 in the International Leadership Podcast, ILP. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's just jump into it. So chapter 1 in Developing Leader Within You from John Maxwell talks about how leadership is influence, right? So most people will say, well, I'm not really a leader. I don't have people working for me, or they'll be a leader of a team. They actually do have people that report to them, and somehow they'll think, oh, I'm just part of a team. I'm one of the team members. We even have business owners who will just refer to themselves as, oh, I'm just part of the team. We all kind of work together, and they're not really embracing their role as a leader. So I'm just going to invite everyone to reconsider your mindset when you think about leadership. Think about leadership is influence. If you have any influence on anybody around you, you're a leader. And so just start thinking about, I don't control the world around me, but I can influence it. I can influence people in a better direction. Leaders are leaders because going somewhere. So having a vision of where you want to go, a better world, a better tomorrow, and then inspiring the people around you to move in that same direction. That's really the foundation of leadership. If nobody's following, you're not leading.
Yes. Actually, just to support your point, it's interesting. I was actually reading a publication, and it was talking about influence and leadership. Just to support your point, it's very interesting. Getting your peers to act on your ideas requires understanding what they care about and what drives their decisions. That was like the little...
Yeah,
from the
absolutely.
Just to support your point, yes.
So one of the things I tell people is, I call it listen first leadership, right? So a lot of times leaders think I'm supposed to be the one who's doing most of the talking, and really we should be listening first. It's hard to get people to be on board with our ideas if we've never listened to their life, their story, their mission, their why. And so as a leader, part of that is building that relationship with the people on our team and developing those relationships where I know where they're going, what motivates them, what inspires them. And for a period of time, maybe not forever, but for a period of time, their mission in their life and my mission with this organization, they're lined up. And as long as we're in alignment, they'll follow along with that journey, as long as I'm focusing on them meeting their mission and their goals as well. So you're working with your peers, you're working with people that could be reporting to you, And a nonprofit organization, I work with nonprofits, and it's especially challenging because people might be volunteers. You're leading a group of volunteers to do something. On the plus side, there's usually a strong passion for the mission. And so people who are very talented are willing to work for free, doing that, supporting that mission because they believe it in their heart. They're very passionate about it. On the flip side, you've got business where you're paying people to work. They may not be as passionate about it, but then they're employed. They have a clear set of guidelines: show up for a certain amount of hours, do a certain amount of work, meet a certain amount of expectations. So, nonprofits have an advantage with the passion part, but not so much with the pay and time and putting on job requirements on somebody. Whereas for-profit companies have the advantage of, setting the rules and the guidelines. We're paying for your time, and but now need to build up that passion for their mission, right? And I think a lot of times businesses lose sight of that mission, and they're focusing on money and KPIs and certain measurements and metrics, and losing sight of the fact that, hey, we make a difference in our customers' lives. The world is better because we exist, and that's our mission. Our mission is to make the world a better place through our services, whatever services those might be.
Yes, yes. And it sounds like this is vertical free, industry free. It is universal. That's what I'm understanding from your
Yeah, absolutely.
experience.
So, good leadership principles, it doesn't make a difference leading your children, leading your spouse, leading your neighborhood, leading a business, leading a major global corporation, leading the local deli, or anywhere in between, leading a country. Honestly, like I would be more than happy to use this book for training for government leadership around the world. It works. We've done leadership training in other countries. Maxwell Leadership Team, we've gone into countries. We do what's called national transformations, where a group of coaches like myself will go into a country. Hundreds of us will go in, and we kind of flood the entire country, from government to education to higher education, schools, military, police, all the different branches, arts, media, and we do values-based leadership training. We train the people of that country to be better leaders and train them into understanding how to develop themselves as their leaders. And the hope is that over the course of time, as the leaders are running these values-based leadership, that the country actually changes. And we've actually seen this in several countries around the world. So it works. It works everywhere, with every level, everyone, every how. It works. Good leadership principles are universal. So
Impressive.
hence the International Leadership Podcast title, right? It's international. It works anywhere.
That is true. Actually, it shows your vision as well in that sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, I did expand. Initially, for those, you're probably the only one that knows the iterations of the name of this podcast, starting from the Long Island Leadership Podcast, going up to the American, going up to international. But why think small? So it works everywhere, and we do have a global reach. So why not International Leadership Podcast?
Yes.
So absolutely. I just want to touch base on some of the stuff that's in these that's in the book. In chapter 1, it talks about how leadership is influence, and there's various levels of leadership in John Maxwell's his framework for leadership. He lists the 5 levels of leadership, right? At level 1, we're leadership title, and that positional level leadership is really the lowest level. I usually tell people to avoid that level of leadership, and that you're operating at level 1 when you ask yourself questions such as, how come my team won't just show up for work and do the job I asked them to do? Right? I pay them. They should just show up. They should just do what I ask. They know their job. Just show up and do it. Right? So at that level, that you're operating level 1. There's higher levels of leadership to go, where your team knows what they're going to do, and they want to do it. They're inspired to do it. They're equipped to do it. They own their positions. They see the vision. They're motivated. They embrace the mission for the organization, and they're just running full speed ahead for that vision. And that's if you're a higher level leader, right? So if we go to level 2 leadership is based upon relationships. So we know that some people are more task-oriented people, and some people are more people-oriented people. If you are a people-oriented person, you'll have an easier time with level 2 leadership, right? Building those relationships, letting your team know that they're valuable to you. I recently gave a presentation on this, and I said a statement that I like to share with people, and that is, if it's important to you, it's important to me, right? Whatever you find valuable, whatever you find important, I find that valuable and important because you're valuable to me. And if you're valuable to me, anything that you think is important, I also think is important, right? So having that mindset as a leader helps us to build connections with our people. What more connecting thing can we say to somebody than everything that's valuable to you is valuable to me also because you are valuable to me. So that's level 2 leadership. It's building those relationships. It's understanding the why for those members of our team, understanding their mission in their own lives, what's important to them, their family, their goals, their future, and supporting them in their journey. If I have your back, you can have my back. But if I'm only watching out for me, well, then you got to watch out for you. And that's what happens in a lot of businesses. The boss or the leader is self-focused because they're inundated with stress. It's not their fault necessarily, but they're just, the stress of the job, the demands, the constant need to provide service. That's a stress. And so we tend to shrink our world, and we tend to focus on ourselves. This is what I need right now. My team needs to follow through and meet my objectives. And we're not thinking that, my team has a life. They've got their own issues. They've got their own health. They've got their own family. They've got their own things that they need to do. And if I'm not focused on helping them, how can I expect them to be focused on me, right? So all that fits into level 2 leadership. The next level of leadership is productivity, right? We need our team to win, right? The people want to be on a team that wins. We don't just want a nice coach or a nice boss, a nice leader. We want somebody who can help us to actually achieve our goals. If you're not making your sales, you're not producing your product, the customers aren't happy, if you're not out there, then your company's it's doomed, right? So everybody wants to be on a team that wins, and that's more of a task-oriented responsibility for the leader. So just like the people-oriented leaders are better at level 2, task-oriented leaders are better at level 3. We find that the best leaders are able to be people-oriented and also be able to be task-oriented. They're able to work with the numbers, work with KPIs, objectives, results, SMART goals, keeping people on task, holding people accountable, having direct conversations with people, coaching and mentoring people for their success, getting commitments, creating a culture of accountability. Those are all things that will exist at level 3. Those are easier for task-oriented people to do, but more challenging for the people-oriented leaders, right? So if you're a people-first leader, great, work on the task side. If you're a task-first leader, great, but got to do the people side first. Otherwise, people are going to resent your leadership and they end up going the wrong direction. So level 4 leadership is people development, right? And that's a hat that most leaders need to maintain, but many leaders don't feel like it's their responsibility. So especially the small business leaders, they're not involved in mentoring or coaching their team members to be better versions of themselves. I'm willing to coach you on being a better member of my team. I'm not willing to coach you on being a better version of you. And that's probably because those same leaders aren't doing their own self-development, right? So the analogy I use is lighting a candle. If I light a candle with a match, you got to light the match. When the match is lit, now hold it next to the wick and you leave it there until the wick lights, right? And so we as leaders in a mentoring relationship, a people development relationship, we've got to be doing self-development, right? That self-development, that focus on becoming a better leader, that ignites us. And then once we're ignited, we get close to the people that we're working with and in that mentoring relationship, and then our fire ignites the fire in them. And now we have value to add to them, and then they can develop and become better versions of themselves. And what I always like to say is a better you is a better everything. You're the common denominator in every aspect of your life. As you elevate yourself, everything in your life, family, health, mental health, physical health, business, finances, all your relationships, everything becomes better. Better you is a better everything.
Is there, just out of curiosity, and I find it to be very insightful actually what you just mentioned. So in terms of being in a certain level, how to get or how to upgrade from one level to another? Like I must say, can someone be in a higher level, being in early stages of his her leadership experience?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So I ask people to focus on levels 2, 3, and 4, right? Level 5 leadership is something that's bestowed upon you. You can't really you can't be a level 5 leader if you're a leader for a year, right? If you do level 2, level 3, and level 4 leadership long enough and well enough, the outside world bestows level 5 on you by saying, wow, I've heard of how great of a job you did here in this particular role, company, whatever it is. I see everything around you is successful. Can you come and help us? You haven't worked with me directly. I don't really know you directly. You haven't had time to build a relationship with me. But because of your renown, because of the great name that you have, I want you to work with me, right? So that's level 5 leadership. So we don't really focus on that because that's something else. That's something that other people bestow upon you. But any leader, I don't care if you're, so I started my leadership journey in 1995. I was 24 years old. The people that worked on my team had 25 or more years in the company. They started before I was born, and I had to be their leader. And so building those relationships was important. Helping them be more productive, like figuring out, hey, how do I help them to do their job better, faster, easier, more efficiently? How do I clear roadblocks out from in front of them? Now, level 4 leadership was people development. I absolutely did not do that because I was 24 years old and they were, 50 years old, right? So I didn't even know that was even my role as a leader was to develop them as people. And I didn't jump into that role as a leader, but I did levels 2 and level 3, and it worked out. It worked out fine. So now that I've got more years of experience, I've done a lot more self-development. Now I can be a level 4 leader. If somebody's listening right now, whoever's listening right now, if you've read this book, if you want to read this book, if you want to develop yourself, the more you develop yourself, the more you're able to develop other people. If you're never involved with self-development, you can't get to level 4 people development. You can't develop somebody else if you haven't built it up in yourself first.
Makes sense.
Did that answer? Is that an okay?
Yes, absolutely. This is actually very, very yes. That's actually very insightful and important to learn. I mean, it's because see, there are many different professionals coming into their leadership experience, and they like to, in general, an ideal professional likes who likes to improve himself, herself. That's the ideal profile of a professional. And leadership is an important part of it.
I mean, so I'm going to say that from a lot of people that I work with now, especially at the lower levels, it's like a 50-50. Half the people are involved with some sort of self-development, and half of them, they've never, lifted a book. They're not watching podcasts or listening to self-help stuff. They're not involved actively in developing themselves. So, I always inspire people, start listening to audiobooks, start listening to podcasts, listen to the International Leadership Podcast.
Yes.
Do self-development, go to conferences, every single field. I don't care what field you're in. Every single field has a major conference somewhere in the US where not only will you meet with other people in your field and see all the vendors that are doing your stuff and get the latest and greatest of what's happening, but there's also educational sessions. And I always encourage everybody, go to those educational sessions. Somebody somewhere said, wow, this is really important. We would like for all the members in our field to understand this educational material. And so sign up for those classes and show up at those conferences. If you're not going to the conferences, you're doing yourself a disservice and your customers a disservice. There's so much great things that you can learn, the latest and the greatest technology, strategies, mindsets, ideas, business strategies. So show up to find the conference that matches your industry and show up. And I've been amazed at how many of these conferences there are. Any field, any job, any silo, any category of anything, there's a conference for it.
I have one actually, one of my favorites. So let's talk about a little bit. Live to Lead.
Oh, my
So
Live to Lead conference. That is a great
yes,
conference. Everybody
yes,
in this
of
listening
course.
audience can show up. It's going to be January 22nd of 2027. Live to Lead is an experience that everyone really needs to experience. It's a great day full of information, networking, strategies. It boosts your mindset. So there's clearly an element of motivation because unmotivated people don't do anything different. They don't do anything at all, actually. So we're there to motivate and inspire people. We're elevating the audience in mindset, in energy and enthusiasm for their mission. We're helping to clarify that vision that they have, their own business, for their own lives, for their own impact on the community. And then we're equipping them with strategies that they can go back and use starting that same day, right? So how do I lead my team better? How do I create better vision, goals, mindsets? What do I do in my company to make us more effective? How do I sell better? How do I connect with my customers better? How do I elevate my customer service to my current customers? How do I elevate my performance with my prospects to get more prospects in the door, to sign them up as customers? All that, everything that's relevant for business today. And like I said, I don't care if you're a brand new, fresh out of college, but interested in leadership, individual, or you're the CEO for the last 30 years of a multi-billion-dollar business, you will get value from Live to Lead. So I'm just encouraging everybody, you sign up for Live to Lead 2027. It seems like it's a ways away, but it's right around the corner. In the blink of an eye, we're going to be there. So
Yes,
thank you
yes.
for bringing that up. It's a great leadership conference.
Of course. Time flies, and this QR code is actionable. So when you scan this QR code, it'll take you directly to the Live to Lead conference official website.
That's great. So let's talk about more. I'd like to jump a little bit more back into Developing a Leader Within You 2.0 by John Maxwell.
Okay.
Some of the other chapters in here. Chapter 2 focuses on priority management. And I remember I was coaching a team one time, and one decided that he really needs to focus on helping his team to elevate their performance. And so it's late one night and he's still working, and he walks through the office and he sees that most people's desks are kind of a mess. So he leaves everybody a note on their desk, clean up your desk, right? And so so everybody walks in the next day with a note from their boss saying, straighten out your desk, which of course they comply to. People were disgruntled about it, but they complied. And I'm thinking to myself, was that the most important thing that your team really needed to do today? Or are they saying, hey, listen, I don't really care about our objectives. My boss says clean out my desk. Fine, I'll clean up my desk. Clean everything up. It'll be perfect. Who cares about customer service? Who cares about what other stuff, right? So people get frustrated if they feel like their leader is not focused on the most important tasks at the moment. So great effort in telling your team to clean up their desks. I'd rather leaders did something than did nothing. Everything starts off kind of messy anyway. There's an expression, the first pancake is always ruined. And anybody who's ever made pancakes knows you pour that first pancake, it always gets messed up. But if you never pour the first pancake, you can't pour the second pancake, right? So go out there and try stuff, be willing to fail. That was not the best, most prioritized, strategy that the team needed to implement at the time, but it was a good learning lesson, right? Focus on the most important things that your team needs to do. One of the other things I like to say is when it comes to priority management, people often try to prioritize what's urgent. And that's necessary. There's always fires to put out that day. But if you're only putting out the fires of the day, you'll always have fires every day. And then all your day is going to be stressed out putting out fires. So I call it survive and advance. Put out the fires for today, but dedicate some amount of time. It might be extra time. You might be working 10-hour days to do this. I remember I had to do this. I was working probably 10, 12-hour days because I would survive my 10-hour day, and then I had to advance. I had to create something. I had to do some amount of fire prevention, right? So I would spend another 2 hours just planning and creating and working on things that were going to solve problems in the future. And after a while, that momentum built up, and my 12-hour day went down to like a 6-hour day because I was able to solve those problems. I wasn't getting those fires. I did enough fire prevention that all those extra 2 hours that I spent were able to add up, build enough momentum, solve the problems. So customer service improved, efficiency improved. There was fewer headaches, fewer fires. Everybody was happy. Like, it was just a much better. I swear the sky became bluer. Birds chirped, prettier songs. Like, everything seemed to be better when I was able to do these problem-solving type strategies to help the team to overcome some of the struggles that we were having. Because every day all we did every day was fight these fires. We just put out the urgent things for that day. So I call it, like I said, survive in advance. Every day, set aside at least an hour, 2 hours of time to focus on making the system better. Do something to prevent that fire coming up in the future, right? That actually brings us to a couple of other chapters from the book. We jump ahead to chapter 4. Chapter 4 is creating positive change. And that's where I think this putting out this fire comes in. And chapter 5 is on problem solving, right? So our role as a leader is always to solve problems, whether it's the problem of the day or the problem of tomorrow, to be that problem solver. A strategy that I used a while back that really was helpful is I just stuck a sticky note on the wall next to the desk. Every time I came in to sit down at my desk, I would look at this sticky note as I was sitting down, and the sticky note said, how will I add value today? And I would sit down, I would think, okay, what am I going to do today to make life better for my entire team? How can I create this process that's easier, faster, more efficient, smoother? Do I need to train people? Do I need to create training materials? Do I need to streamline something? Do I need new technology? Do I need to improve the technology? What are we doing? What am I going to do to improve it today? And this is, I think, a key to great leadership. And that is what I would say is deliberate leadership, right? Mm-hmm. If I walk into a job every day and I just think, hey, how am I going to get the job done today? That's really not leadership. If I walk into my job every day saying, how am I going to make it better? Right? Am I going to lead my team? Who am I going to lead? Specifically, who am I leading? And specifically, how am I going to lead that person today? And then I do it. If I add that up for 365 days a year, or there's probably 200 and I don't know how many working days there are a year. Let's say 2 working days a year. That's going to add up to significant change over time. So
yes,
yeah, go ahead.
In the scope of problem solving. So back in the time, not necessarily only from leadership point of view, but there is a problem and we try to solve it, right? We try to go to the bottom of it in terms of addressing it, get to the bottom of it. And we were using some methods like fishbone analysis or 5 why techniques, just to find the root cause of a problem. So and to your point, in terms of addressing problems, finding solutions for it, would you say it is something that a leader will do like every single day in terms of daily experience and
absolutely
work experience?
Your job as a leader, all of us, our job as leaders is to solve problems, right? Because if we're going to move forward, there's always going to be a struggle. The battle towards anything significant is an uphill battle. There's always going to be problem solving involved, right? Life is not a flat race. It's an obstacle course. We're constantly overcoming these obstacles. So our job as a leader is to anticipate what kind of problems we're going to see in advance, prepare ourselves and our team for that. And we can never forget, let's go back to chapter 1, right? And we're going to put on the hat of people development. I'm not just becoming a better problem solver myself. I'm developing my team to be better problem solvers, right? So I want every member of my team to be equipped with the proper strategies, mindsets, ideas, and I want to empower them to be problem solvers, right? That means I need to prepare them for it and I need to entrust them with it, right? I'm going to put it upon their shoulders. A lot of times as leaders, this is the limit. This is a leadership limit that blocks us from growing our companies. And that is, we take on all the problem solving ourselves as leaders, right? And that's going to block our team from growing. So the answer to that is to prepare our team with the proper mindset, right? We want This is where our core values come in. If I've hired the people on my team based upon core values, and not, this is a problem that a lot of people have. A lot of people hire because we're enamored by talent. Oh my gosh, you did this at your last company? That sounds amazing. I want that. No, you don't. What you want is character that matches your core values of your company that are in alignment with your mission, right? You can train somebody on the skill set. So don't be enamored by somebody who's super talented in a skill set. Focus on those core values, right? So those core values are the foundation for all the decision making. If somebody is in alignment with the core values, now we can build on top of that this problem solving framework where now any problem that comes in, the person knows how to solve it because they're aware of the mission, they're committed to the mission, and they know the core values that are going to get us in that direction. And now I give them the problem solving ability. I'm gonna delegate that to them, and I'm gonna say things like, do not come to me with problems without solutions. Every time somebody comes to me with a problem, I'm going to ask them, well, what are the solutions that you think? Before I answer it. Like sometimes it's just knee-jerk reaction. Say, okay, do this or do that or do the other, right? Instead of doing that, just say, okay, great, that's a problem. What's your solution? What do you think is the best answer to that? Fantastic, run with it. Eventually, that person is going to know that they can run with it. And instead of everybody saying, hey, Joe, we have this problem, what should we do? People say, hey, by the way, Joe, I'm just letting you know, I had this problem, we fixed it. This is how I fixed it. We're just making you aware. And I go, thumbs up, great job, keep going, right? It lightens the weight off of my shoulder. You cannot grow any organization without building up your leaders at every level to be able to help carry the weight. When everybody's carrying the weight, it gets so much lighter of a job. You'll be able to achieve, and this is feedback that I'm getting from clients. They're saying, Joe, if you told us the numbers that we would get today, 2 years ago when we started, I would have told you you're crazy. But we're achieving goals now that we never thought were possible. And it's easier to do it now, right? Because it's easier to do it because I have leaders who are helping carry their weight. Everybody is in the same mindset. They're rowing in the same direction. They're moving the ball forward. Everybody knows the mission. They're committed to the mission, and they're helping to carry the team forward in the right direction.
Before you go to the next chapter, just out of curiosity, so especially for leaders to solve problems and face problems and trying to come up with solutions, what is the best way to make sure that you don't feel the fatigue, you don't feel so tired and exhausted, and how to keep the leadership going in terms of operationally?
Yeah, so it's very interesting. The brain, if we don't understand how the brain functions, we're going to think that, long hours, long nights, and just gritting our way through it is the method to use. But what we're going to end up doing is we're going to wear out our brains, and the ability to problem solve is going to diminish. So oddly enough, things like laughter, fun, rest, social relationships, those things inspire better problem solving ability. So doing fun things at work, involving a culture of laughter, social interaction, gratitude, right? So if you're the leader and you're not thanking your team on an ongoing basis for all the great things that they're doing and acknowledging everybody's wins, then you're not using a tool to its best ability of helping people to become better at problem solving, right? So it seems like it's a disconnect, right? Why does laughter and fun lead to better problem solving ability? Like, we know that it does. It's been measured out. And I'll tell you the answer real quick, and we can go into this further at other episodes. And that is, the part of your brain that does problem solving is shut down under stress, right? Your brain literally restricts blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. So you're lacking oxygen and you're lacking nutrition to the part of your brain that's used for problem solving. And the blood flow is good to the emotional part of your brain, which is the stress part of your brain, your limbic system. And that's not a good problem solver. right? So in order to get the blood flow back into the prefrontal cortex, we need good sleep, we need healthy habits, exercise works, laughter works, fun, social engagement. All these things calm down that limbic brain and allow us to be better problem solvers. They've done tons of studies on this, and I just finished the book round one. I'm reading it again. Round two, it's called the Happiness Advantage, and it has to do with strategies to help boost our mind. Being happy is a strategy for success. We think that, okay, when I'm a success, I'll be happy, but the key really is if I'm happy, it's going to help me be more successful.
Yes, yes. I love these insights. Much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to let's go back to chapter 3 because we skipped chapter 3, and it's probably one of the most foundational chapters of the book, and that's on character. And this is an often forgotten part of leadership, is having good character. And we think character is something that you either have or you don't have. In reality, character is something that can be developed. If you focus on it and you care about it and you implement strategies, you can develop better character. Your character is going to steer your ship. Those are your core values. These are the things that are going to determine whether you are a leader that people want to follow. If nobody's following you, you're not leading. So we find out that the top 3 character traits of good leadership. When I say good leadership, I mean it's effective, it's making the world a better place, and then it lasts after you're gone, right? It's one thing to have a leader that can push forth and make tremendous change and do amazing things. And then when that leader leaves, everything falls apart, okay? But we're not talking about that. We're talking about effective leadership where it's sustainable. And in that effective leadership, we find 3 character traits that repeat themselves over and over again. Number 1 is humility. Most people discount humility. We would rather be confident, and confidence is definitely key, but be humble and confident. If you're not humble and confident, you're going to be arrogant, and people don't like arrogant people. They're not going to want to follow an arrogant leader. Arrogant leaders are more self-centered. Humble leaders value their team, right? We know that long-term leadership, if I win, I give the credit to my team. We won because the team did a great job. If we crash and burn, it's because I made mistakes as a leader, right? I'm going to own everything that's negative, and I'm going to give away everything that's positive. That takes humility, and that's how you lead a team. Number 2 character trait of a good leader is trustworthiness. This even goes, they've done studies of countries that have a higher trust factor have a higher gross domestic product. Companies do better. Business does better. The countries are safer. If there's more trust, people are more apt to follow good leadership. Interestingly, most people do not cite their boss as, if you ask 1,000 people, who are the people that you trust the most in your life, even if it's like the top 10 people are not mentioning their boss, right? Meanwhile, if you study people's mental health, the person who has the most impact on somebody else's mental health is their boss. So we're giving somebody our mental health, but we don't trust them. So as a leader, let's elevate our trustworthiness. And these are character traits that can be developed. The third most important character trait of a good leader is courage. Leaders need to do difficult tasks. They need to make difficult decisions. They need to do unpopular things, and they need to be able to get those done without hesitation, without delay. And all of that takes courage. Facing fear, it's not that you're not afraid, it's that you overcome the fear, you overcome the discomfort, and that's the value of courage. And that's the character trait of good leadership. So that is, in summary, chapter 3. All of this, by the way, these are, this is not just an amazing book to read, but like I said, it's a workshop, it's training, it's coaching, it's the foundation of coaching systems that we at Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions provide to our clients. And like I said, this is probably the book, the coaching course that I've worked with the most. I've trained the most leaders through this. It is the fundamental leadership book, and highly recommend it. Highly recommend to anybody. If anybody's interested in more information, simply email me at the info@beauchampteam.com email address, or connect with us on beauchampteam.com on our website and find out more information on that.
That's perfect. And also, we have the QR code here This takes our audience directly to the International Leadership Podcast segment in the American Business Podcast, so they can watch all the episodes of International Leadership Podcast.
Yeah, find out more good values-based leadership principles usable in every area of life. Like I said, I don't care if you have a role where people are following you, or if you're just leading your kids, or you're just leading yourself. These principles apply everywhere, right? Courage is important for everybody, not just leaders, right? So everyone is really a leader. Everyone has an influence on somebody. So let's take a look at chapter 6 of the book. Chapter 6 is on attitude. One of the most all these are great chapters. I can probably say every single chapter is one of the most important chapters of the book. But attitude makes such a huge difference in leadership ability. It makes a difference in sales. It makes a difference in trustworthiness. It makes a difference in whether people like you or want to follow you. People don't follow leaders based upon their ideas. They follow leaders based upon the character of that leader. If I look at somebody and I like them and I think, wow, that person has qualities and traits that I would like to have myself, I'm going to follow their leadership. If they're not somebody who I want to be like, I'm not going to listen to their ideas. And very frequently I'll find leaders who say, I have a kind of a technical background. I don't need these people skills, because all I need to do is really know the technology really well, and then I'll rise up to levels of leadership in the technology. And my answer is, you can have the perfect answer, the perfect technology, the perfect solution, and nobody's going to listen to you, right? People aren't going to respect your wisdom, your knowledge, your insight, your training, your background. They're not going to respect that because they don't respect you as a person, right? People buy into the leader first. When they buy into the leader, they'll buy into your ideas. Okay. Another thing that people need to understand is that the quality of the performance of an idea, right, or how productive an idea is the determination of the quality of the idea times the acceptance of that idea. And this is the piece that most people miss. I have a better idea than person B, but my idea is only going to be accepted at a 50% level. Their idea, which is an inferior idea, is going to be accepted at an 80% level, right? That 80% acceptance makes the end result of their idea better than the end result of my idea. So I'd rather, even though I think that my idea is better, I'm going to concede to this other idea because it's going to get a higher acceptance and therefore produce better results. And that's like a brain game that people don't really understand. And once they get the idea, if they can accept it, it's going to make a difference in the productivity of their team. So attitude is chapter 6. That's our mindset. And that's hugely based upon our emotions. I literally was just working with a team today that somebody was saying, how could I not get frustrated? Equipment fails, people don't show up, they're not doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, all the other stuff. All these things are super frustrating. And how am I supposed to not get angry when these things happen? I'm like, well, does anger make the equipment work better? No. Does anger take the bugs out of the software? Nope. Does anger make your people show up on time? No. Does anger make the product get done at a higher quality level? No, it doesn't. If anger is not helping, right? If frustration, annoyance, sadness, disappointment, if all these negative emotions, if they're not doing you any good, then let's get rid of them, right? And is it that easy? No, but it's almost that easy. It starts with understanding that we can, right? Understanding that this negative emotion isn't producing a better product. It's actually degrading the quality of my product. It's degrading my leadership. It's degrading my performance. Leaders who lead with anger and threats and, don't get Joe upset and he's going to get really angry. He's going to fire me. That's emotional manipulation. Don't lead by emotional manipulation. There's so many better, easier ways that are more effective long-term. Okay. In the immediate, if I slam something down, I get angry and I curse people out, I might get better results with some people who are easily intimidated by anger. But long-term results are going to be better off with leading. If I manage my emotions properly, I'm going to re-engage my prefrontal cortex again. That goes with the happiness in the prefrontal cortex. I'm going to be a better problem solver. I'm going to create better results with my team.
So we are in the 45 minute mark. Would you like to wrap it up, or would you like to continue the rest of the principles in the next episode? What do you think?
So let's wrap it up for now. And we've covered up to chapter 6. There's 4 more chapters to go in the book. We'll touch base upon that another time. I don't know about next week, but one of these future episodes we'll wrap up the book. Great
Sounds
stuff
great.
in there. And,
Yes, I'm gonna. Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, please read us out. So it's been a very informative episode, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Joe.
I appreciate your help. So again, hey, episode 5 of the International Leadership Podcast. We talk about great leadership principles that are applicable in every area of your life. I don't care if you're a business leader, nonprofit leader, or government leader, or just a leader of yourself and your family. These are strategies that you can use to become a better, more effective, more influential leader. So thank you for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week, and have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Well, that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching our podcast of the International Leadership Podcast. Once again, my name is Joe Beauchamp, president and founder of Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions. That's beauchampteam.com. If you like this episode, please like it, share it, subscribe to this channel. If you're interested in being a guest or a sponsor of this program, please give me an email at info@beauchampteam.com. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it and discuss options and how it can work something out for everyone to win. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye.